Smoke's coming out of Foxborough today, and not the nothing to see here kind. There's movement behind the scenes that could steer this offense for years. A defensive door just swung open in a way nobody was really ready for. The wide receiver market just showed a crack that might turn into a shot. And there's one situation on the offensive line that can go from nice to have depth to how are we surviving Sundays way quicker than people want to admit. Hang with me on this. If you're living for Patriots news like I am, tap like and subscribe, because this is one of those off-season days that splits the fan base right down the middle. Do you want this team playing it safe, or do you want them throwing punches? And keep listening, because at the end, I'm coming back to one detail most people still aren't connecting. We'll start with the move that doesn't sound loud until you actually put the pieces on the board. About a week after Mike Vrabel talked about how deep and versatile the 2026 tight end class is, it came out that the Patriots met with Notre Dame tight end Eli Raridon at the East-West Shrine Bowl. And yes, before anyone jumps in, every team had some contact with him there. That's not the wow part. The wow part is what it hints at, where New England's head is at, what they're prioritizing, and how they're thinking about building this thing around Drake May. Raridon really did take a step in 2025. 32 catches, 482 yards, started all 12 games. No touchdowns, and I can already hear the reaction. No TDs? Next. But tight end in the NFL isn't just red zone clips and fantasy stats. If you want a steady offense week after week, you need a tight end who can live in the run game, hold an edge, sell play action, and then hurt defenses in that middle window when linebackers get caught peeking into the backfield. From what's been said about his game, Raridon fits that type. Willing blocker. Can separate enough to get open. Competes. There's also been talk about drops here and there, and that's exactly where the argument starts. Do the Patriots want a day one, hands-never-fail guy to make life easier for May immediately? Or are they okay betting on traits and letting coaching smooth out the rough edges? Think about that for a second. Then he gets to the combine, and he doesn't look like a camp body either. A 4.62 40, 36-inch vertical, 10'3" broad jump. For a 6'6" tight end, that's real pop and real upside. And when Vrabel talks about the volume in this class, when he points out how many 4th and 5th round tight ends end up starting and contributing across the league, he's basically telling you, you don't have to force it early if you evaluate it right. That matters because the tight end room isn't exactly set in stone for the long haul. Hunter Henry just had the best season of his career, but that contract clock doesn't stop. Austin Hooper and Jack Westover are headed toward free agency. So ask yourself this. If it's October and you need reliable tight end snaps, blocking, third and long help, timing on play action, who's actually taking them? Right now, that answer is a little too foggy for comfort. So this meeting with Raridon isn't, they're drafting him, lock it in. It's New England doing work early, looking for value, building a stack of options, and keeping the playbook wide open for a young quarterback. And how they chase value in the draft ties straight into the next thing, because the defense just got handed an opening that doesn't show up often. And no, this part isn't rumor. This is a real market shift. Linebacker Bobby Okereke, defensive captain for the Giants, was told he's being released for cap reasons. The second that hit, you could feel the league's attention swing. Patriots fans should be locked in on it too, because linebacker is one of the cleanest upgrade spots on this roster. Vrabel's defense isn't built around linebackers being simple tackle counters. They're the communication center. They set the front. They erase mistakes. They get everyone lined up when the play breaks down and turns into chaos. That's why the profile matters so much. Okereke's production is loud. 3 seasons with the Giants, 385 tackles, with 143 last season. And it's not just piling up tackles 10 yards downfield. He's got tackles for loss, quarterback hits, interceptions, passes defended, forced fumbles. He's involved everywhere. Not a one-note player. More like the kind of linebacker who's around the ball all day and still has enough in the tank to lead the room. And that's the other layer that matters in Foxborough right now. Leadership. Okereke wasn't just productive. He became one of the voices in that locker room. Mentor, tone setter, the guy teammates lean on. If you've been watching what Vrabel is trying to build, you already know why that's valuable. Culture isn't a poster on the wall. It shows up in habits, accountability, chemistry, and how a defense answers after a bad drive. There's also a connection that could help New England here. Ryan Cowden, New England's vice president of player personnel, was part of the Giants' front office structure when Okereke came to New York in 2023. Familiarity matters in free agency. Trust matters. Knowing how a guy prepares, how he practices, how he leads, that can separate you when multiple teams are calling at the same time. So the question that's going to split Patriots Nation is pretty simple. Does New England get aggressive? Because signing someone like Okereke isn't just add a linebacker. It's a statement. It speeds up the defense. It helps younger players grow faster. It gives Vrabel a core piece who matches his style on the field, and just as important, inside that locker room. But while that defensive conversation is building, something in the wide receiver market started to move that made a lot of people sit up. And if it breaks the right way, it could directly shape what Drake May is throwing to next season. Be honest, the last few weeks felt like the Patriots were getting boxed out of top free agent targets. Franchise tags were flying, doors were getting locked, and when that happens, the market thins out fast. Then there's a window. Wide receiver Alec Pierce didn't get franchise tagged by the Colts. Indianapolis instead used the transition tag on quarterback Daniel Jones after his mostly impressive 2025 season before the injury. The moment that decision hit, the thought was pretty straightforward. Okay, there's a real chance here. Pierce isn't just some random name in the scroll. In this wide receiver market, he's been widely viewed as one of the best realistic options for New England this offseason. He's 25. He's a true vertical threat. He can win down the field and generate chunk plays. And that matters a ton when you're building around a young quarterback like Drake May. A receiver who forces defenses to respect the deep third changes the shape of the whole offense. Safeties have to get depth, windows open underneath, play action gets sharper. The red zone gets cleaner because defenses can't just crowd the box and sit on short routes like they own the place. That's the kind of tool this offense needs. Now, there's real tension baked into it. Some people around the Colts side have suggested they want to extend Pierce as soon as possible. If they get that done fast, the window slams shut. But there's also a very real reason this could get interesting. Pierce might want to see what the open market thinks he's worth. And if he does, the Patriots have two things going for them: cap flexibility and a path for him to be a featured piece. In New England, he wouldn't be showing up to blend in. He'd be showing up to matter. The catch is the price tag. It probably won't be cheap. The front office has to decide. Do you write a big check for a young receiver with upside, or do you protect your cap and lean harder into the draft? And I'll say it like this, without getting cute. There's an obvious logic to investing in a 25-year-old who can grow alongside May, instead of spending serious draft capital on an older, more expensive name. Especially when big trades for flashy receivers aren't something fans should automatically expect. But if the Patriots can't land a receiver at that level, the fallback likely becomes the draft. And that's where it gets uncomfortable, because this year's receiver class isn't universally seen as a true difference maker. And while everyone's staring at the skill spots, there's one thing up front that can quietly derail the whole operation if they play it wrong. The Patriots have a lot to address, but offensive tackle is right near the top. Even if they believe they've got a franchise piece in Will Campbell, there are still major questions across the rest of the line, and the depth behind it just isn't where it needs to be. That's where Vidarian Lowe comes in. For a while, Lowe was viewed as depth, a useful backup. But across 2025, when injuries hit the offensive line, he had to take real snaps. He wasn't perfect, no one's claiming that, but he improved enough that teams around the league started to notice. And yeah, that's not always a compliment for the team trying to keep him, because Lowe is set to hit free agency, and Mass Live's Karen Garrigan and Mark Daniels have noted he's become a hot name for teams looking for left tackle depth. In today's NFL, left tackles don't just appear out of nowhere. If a player shows he can step in and survive, even in a backup role, phones start ringing, quickly. So Patriots fans aren't overreacting when they worry about this. If Lowe leaves, it's not just losing a reserve, it's losing a safety net. It's losing the ability to eat a mid-season injury without the entire offense spiraling. Because if Drake May is living under pressure, development slows. Reads speed up. Feet get jumpy. Third and long turns into a problem every single week. It's the kind of domino chain we've seen wreck promising situations around the league. That's why keeping Lowe matters more than it sounds at first. It's not the flashiest headline, but tackle depth saves seasons. The problem is the market. If multiple teams come in higher than the Patriots expect, New England could end up in a bidding situation it didn't plan on. Then Vrabel and the front office have to pick a lane. Pay to keep trustworthy depth, or risk trying to rebuild that spot from scratch. So when you line up all four of these, tight end scouting and planning in the draft, a linebacker leader suddenly available, a possible opening at wide receiver, and a real urgency at tackle depth, the bigger picture starts to show. This isn't random noise. This is an offseason that can accelerate Vrabel's vision, or stall it if they miss the wrong moments. Here's my view, straight up. The Patriots have a rare chance to speed up the build around May without cutting corners. If there's a real shot at Okereke, push. That's production plus leadership, and players like that change the feel of a defense. If Pierce truly reaches the open market, be willing to compete, because a vertical threat can unlock chunk plays and make the whole offense easier. And they cannot ignore the importance of stability at left tackle depth. Protecting your quarterback isn't optional. So I'll ask you, if you could pick one priority that has to happen this offseason, what is it? Defense leadership like Okereke? A real weapon for May like Pierce? Or making sure the offensive line doesn't fall apart the moment adversity hits? Drop your take in the comments. I want the debate. And if you like this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and stay locked in, because the Patriots offseason is just getting started, and the next few weeks are going to be loaded.